Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a good summer weekend, and we got a lot of stuff to cover today, so we'll hop right in. One of the first things I want to talk about is just review motivational interviewing. So what would you say, guys, motivational interviewing, what do you think the most important tool or skill we have when it comes to motivational interviewing? What is that? Listening is important, but not the most important. This is important, but not the most important. Tom's got it. Nick's got it. Okay, open. Michael's got it. Yeah, it's open. Bonnie's got it. Open-ended questions. That's the most important thing to motivational interviewing, because motivational interviewing is having people discover in their own words their problems, and discover in their own words their solutions. And the only way they're going to say those things in their own words is if we ask questions and let them say them. So you see, these are the 4 rules to motivational interviewing. Resist telling them what to do. And what do we love to do with salespeople? Tell them what to do. We need to understand their motivation, seek to understand their values, needs, and abilities. We've done that for you with the 21-point checklist. Listen with empathy. So listen is important. Listen is important, as John said earlier, or in his answer back to what's the most important thing. So listening is important, but you have to ask open-ended questions before you can listen. And then empower them. Empower them, right? So tell them that they are great people. They're above average. So open-ended questions are the most important thing. Now, one of the things that people tell me is that, hey, it's hard to ask those open-ended questions. It's hard to ask those open-ended questions. Well, the best way to ask open-ended questions is, or learn to get better at that, is practice, practice, practice. So I want to give you a drill that you can use to get better at asking open-ended questions. So take any article. If you can't find an article, I mean, go on to any place on the internet, find an article. Or if you can't find an article, just take the dictionary. Or you can take the 5Q scripts. And what you do is you're going to turn them into who, what, where, why, when, how questions. So I just grabbed this article off the internet just on electric bikes. So what I would do to drill and get better at asking open-ended questions right off the top of my head is I'd say, so we look at the first first sentence here. Many of us are entering a new stage of pandemic grief, adaptation. And then I would say, who's entering into a new stage of pandemic grief? What are many people entering into? What stage are most people, or a lot of people, entering in during this pandemic situation? Where are people going who are having grief over the pandemic? Why are people having pandemic grief? When are people having pandemic grief? How are people dealing with pandemic grief? So do you see, I took that one sentence and what did I do? Took that one sentence and what did I do? Asked how many open-ended questions? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Okay, now let's take the next questions. Another sentence. For many Americans, part of the solution has been to buy an electric bike. Who's buying electric bikes? What kind of bike are Americans buying? Where are people buying electric bikes? Why are people buying electric bikes? When are people buying electric bikes? How are people changing their behavior when it comes to bikes? You see how quickly, so in how many seconds did it take me to come up with 6 open-ended questions? Less than 30. So if you do this drill for a half hour, guess how much, or 10 minutes even, how much easier is it going to be able to get to ask open-ended questions? Let's just go to a dictionary. Let's take the word surprise. Who could we surprise? What kind of surprise could we use on people? Where could we hide to surprise people? Why do you not want to surprise people? When would you want to surprise people? How could you surprise people? You could say a surrender. Who needs surrender? What in our lives do we need to surrender? Where could we surrender bad habits? Why would we surrender bad habits? When would we surrender bad habits? How would we surrender bad habits? Do you see how quickly we can come up with 6 open-ended questions? So is coming up with open-ended questions hard? Have I just proven is coming up with open-ended questions hard? And when I've done this with guys on the phones during coaching sessions, guess how easy it is for them to come up with open-ended questions? Do you think they struggle? Or do you think maybe they don't come up with 30 seconds, but guess what? You know what? Maybe it takes 40 seconds, but nobody takes more than a minute to come up with 6 open-ended questions. So what's the problem then? What's the problem if we can all do this? What's the problem with us coming up with open-ended questions? Why don't we do it more? Anybody have any ideas why we don't do it more if it's that easy? Well, Nick says lazy. Gerard says confidence. Not yet a habit, Tom says. I agree with that. Takes more time, routine. It does not feel natural. I would agree with all those things. I think those are all right. Habit of preaching, teaching, selling, yep. So here's the thing. If we want to make it a habit, the successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus. And many of you have heard me say this. I can fix you instantaneously when it comes to asking open-ended questions. I go to your office with a loaded 45, sit in the corner, and if anything that comes out of your mouth is anything but an open-ended question, I'm going to shoot you in the kneecap. What would you all magically be able to do now? Now, would there be some awkward gaps in time as you're trying to, in your head, come up, make sure that whatever comes out of your mouth is an open-ended question? Could there be some awkward, yeah, absolutely there could be. How about, could there be some awkward, clumsy questions that would come out of your mouth? Yes. But here's the funny thing. Not 10 years, not 10 months, not 10 weeks, not 10 days, not 10 hours, but within 10 minutes of you focusing on that, what do you think would start to happen to your questions? Would the awkward gaps get shorter? Even in 10 minutes, would those awkward gaps get shorter? Would the awkward questions get better? Yes. See, so it's not a matter of how hard it is, because you can all do it. Any guy I've ever asked to do it has been able to do it. So what's the problem then? It's focus. You have to make it what? A priority. You have to make it a priority. Now, I know we haven't all gotten to watch a lot of sports lately, but I want you to think about this. If I'm a pro football player, let's say I'm a defensive end, and I have 4 daughters and a wife, so my house is full of what? Testosterone, or the opposite? Now, what if I showed up to a game just minutes before the game? So my wife drops me off, I run onto the field, run into the locker room, put on my pads and go out in the field. What's going to happen to me if that's how I get prepared for the game? I'm going to get killed because I haven't got my head in the game. So instead, I go to the game, or like 4 hours early. I go into the locker room. We warm up. I have, joke around with my buddies. We go out onto the field for a light workout. Then we come back in. We get suited up. We go out for a more intense workout. We come back in. Coach gives us a fired up talk. Then we start banging each other on the pads and on the heads. What am I doing? I'm getting my head in the game. Now, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do all of that, because here's the funny thing. If you just take 30 seconds before every meeting, and just say, you know what? At this meeting, I'm going to ask open-ended questions, one after the other, after the other, after the other. Guess what would magically start to happen at your meetings? If you had that, just 30 seconds, shut your eyes and have a conversation with yourself. I'm going to focus on asking open-ended questions. What would happen? And then maybe at your next meeting, what you would do is you say, you know what? I'm going to focus on getting on people's side when they give me my answers on my open-ended questions. And then maybe at the next meeting for 30 seconds, you focus on, you know what? I'm going to look for 2 or 3 ways to empower people during this meeting. So what most of us do is we sit in our office, and then we're notified that the client's there, and then what do? We jump up, grab just start talking to the client. Is that how most of it? That's how I used to do it. I mean, I think isn't that how we do it? When the client's here, we go and we start the process without really focusing on having that mental moment of what am I going to focus on in this meeting. Does that make sense? So, Missy, is my audio okay?
Yep, it sounds just fine.
Okay. So that is focus, 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 okay? Next thing we want to talk about is marketing, and I've been telling you about some of the testing we've been doing. Now, the testing we're doing is this. There's two things we need to do. We have found that there's a way to get people to get online and watch webinars. Is that good enough, guys? What's the problem with that? What if you got 1,000 people to watch your webinar? Would that be any good? No. Because what has to happen is you have to make appointments, right? So, I mean, if I had the choice of 5 people being on and me making 5 appointments, or 1,000 people being on and me making no appointments, which one am I going to choose, 1,000 or the 5? The 5. So we have had some good success with thing 1, which is getting people to respond. Now what we're experimenting with is, can we get them to make appointments after they respond? So I asked Missy to kind of give us, she's the quarterback of this, so I'm going to ask her to kind of give us feedback on what's happening with the testing right now.
So we're kind of on the last phase of our testing here. So we've got mailers in the mail that are dropping today, which means that we're expecting them in homes by the end of the week, Thursday, Friday. We're excited about this because that's going to give us the answer to thing 2 and whether or not we feel like we can get them to make appointments from not just watch something, but actually make appointments. So I would really expect that we would have some pretty good data by probably the mid to end part of the following week. That gives them maybe 4 to 5 days to be in the mailboxes of the pieces that we're sending out. So, and then we've got another test that's going to be coming up here in about 2 weeks within the next 2 weeks, I would say, with some more mail pieces. So we've kind of got some scattered testing going on, but the first batch here, we really look to have some answers by, I would say, the mid part, maybe around the 24th, 25th of June, which is about 10 days from now. So.
And guys, why are we using direct mail? We're going to enhance it with digital, but the primary is direct mail. Why direct mail? And we've already had thing 1. The reason we've had good traction so far with thing 1 is because it has been direct mail. Why does direct mail work? Yeah, something. You got it. Nick's got it. Glad's got it. Yeah, so here's the thing. In the early 2000s, I told everybody to send things via email. Why did I tell people in the early 2000s to send things via email? Do you remember what your mailbox looked like in the early 2000s? Your mailbox in the early 2000s had not your email box, the real mailbox. Your real mailbox in the early 2000s was stuffed. You'd come back in with a handful of mail, and you'd stand by the garbage can and throw. And people's emails were empty. What's happened today, and Bonnie, you got it. Bonnie's got it. What's happened now is when you go to your mailbox, your physical mailbox, how full is it? Not very. But how full is your email box? Full. And guys, Facebook ads worked unbelievably well 2 years ago. What's happened? You all understand how Facebook works too, and all the other social media works? If you click somebody's ad, if you're a senior and you click somebody's financial ad, what is now going to happen to your Facebook feed or whatever social media feed? What's going to happen to that? What's the only ad you're going to see now? Full of those. Tom's got it. Not just that person's ad, but any financial ad now. You're going to be get clobbered. See, if you look for a pair of shoes, or you do an ad on a pair of shoes on Facebook, what are you going to get? What are you going to get clobbered with for the next 3 weeks? Shoe ads. So if you click, any of these people click a financial ad, guess what they're going to get clobbered with? Everybody's financial ad. So one of the most important things with advertising is go where everybody else is or go where nobody else is. Nobody, yeah. So that's what we're experimenting right now. Not that we've had some actually. We've tested headlines that we're using on the postcards. We've tested them on Facebook, and they work unbelievable. The headlines are working unbelievably well. But the first place we're testing right now is with a postcard. So thank you, Missy, and Trisha for really doing all the heavy lifting on that and tracking and all that kind of stuff. So we will know in a couple of weeks how we're doing on both thing 1 and thing 2. We've got thing 1 figured out, but thing 1 isn't enough. You need both of those. So we'll have more information here in a couple of weeks. Now, while you're waiting in the next couple of weeks, we've got Pirate Jerry. See Jerry's face right there? We've got Pirate Jerry is going to tell you about some things that are working for people who are waiting for marketing to work.
Arg! Time to find some treasure. I'm just kidding. Thanks, Mike. It's Jerry Moniak here. How's it going, guys? Morning. And I appreciate the great picture. What I wanted to kind of talk a little about with you guys is maybe I could call it thing 0, how we can pay for that marketing. And there's some good opportunity. And some of this stuff I'm just going to go over, I think is kind of obvious, but it's really not, because I see it slip by so many people as an opportunity. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. I'll go over them with you, and also kind of help you with how we can get past that and make this and make this profitable, and help you guys pay for that marketing that's coming up. I know a lot of you guys pre kind of pandemic were there was a bunch of people doing some seminars and having some success with it. We're kind of bummed out, and those opportunities may or may not come in the future. And then we have this phenomenal opportunity that I know myself I'm really excited about, that we're working on, and some of the guys know about too. So how can we go ahead and fund that, or what are some things right now? I know I've talked to some guys that are we have a little bit more time, and they're looking for some things to do, whether it's because there's not as many marketing opportunities, and that's why we're trying to put some of these together. But what are some things I can be doing right now that are quick turnaround? And like I said, a little bit obvious, but I'm going to help you out with this. So a big opportunity that I've been seeing right now is going back and looking at those old policies that I've wrote in the past. So I'm talking even policies that are as much as 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. There's opportunity there. We just need to go in there and take a look at them. I have a couple examples for you, but we want to make sure we go back and look at them. There's a couple of reasons. And a lot of you guys might be thinking right away, and I've had this conversation with some guys, is, can I do that? Is it okay for me to go ahead and do that? Would this business even be accepted? And this is why I say, go pull out some of those old policies, bring them to me, and I'll help you see if there's some opportunity there. Because you're absolutely right. We don't want to go back and really shouldn't just go replace a policy just for the sake of replacing it. But a lot of times there's great reason, and there's good opportunity, and there's really an opportunity to help put your client in a better position as well. One example of that I can give you, and we had this conversation, the advisor, I brought that up. I said, hey, let's just, go ahead, start digging up your policies. We started here. We said, let's go dig up the ones that are more than 6 years old that you've wrote. You've wrote annuities that are more than 6 years old, right? Oh, yes, we've done that. So they went and pulled them up and said, hey, I got one right here. And to my surprise, actually, it was a 6-year-old policy. It was actually with Nationwide, happened to be, and it happened to have a positive MBA on it. So there actually wasn't even any surrender charges on that policy. So, okay, check one, we got a good opportunity right here. But we also want to look, hey, how can we, rather than just replacing it because it's under surrender, what are some other things? How can we actually, is this a good thing for the client too as well? Well, we realized also by going and analyzing this policy, this client had a death benefit on there that really, this client really didn't really need. And to tell you the truth, there's only $30,000 of death benefit on it, and they're paying about $1,500 a year for it. So the client didn't need that. The client had a 7% free withdrawal, so we're able to help that client improve, get him a bigger free withdrawal, a little bit more liquidity, get him to 10%, and we're able to improve their caps and rates. So there was 3 things in there that made it, we probably wouldn't even need it all 3, but there's 3 things in there, really 4, that made it a great opportunity to go present it and get a sale, and indeed we'll get that sale. So there's opportunities. I've done that with several of you guys right now. You probably know who you are on the line if you hear me talking about this. And I'm realizing that this is almost more of an urgent. There's some time sensitivity to it because some of these policies do have that positive MBA on them, and they don't have to have that to make it be a good opportunity. In order for it to be a good opportunity, the number one thing we need to do is first we need to go dig up these policies and take a look at them. And now is a great time to do this because we can go ahead, improve that situation. Then we can take that money that we've made while we're kind of waiting around maybe for this marketing opportunity out here. We can then have that money ready to go, so we can go ahead and jump it into this marketing once we get it up and rolling. So I think there's if you take anything out of what I said, here's kind of the main things to think about here. Go back if you wrote any older policies. Go start digging them out. I don't care if it's one or two at a time. Feel free then, grab those policies. Let's just, maybe there'll be great opportunities, maybe they won't, but we don't know unless we dig them up and look at them. Go grab one or two of them, and then you can send them over to me, and you and I can take a look at them together and see if, hey, this is a good opportunity right here. And if maybe those aren't, well, let's grab the next one or two after that then. Let's take a look at them. So I'm willing to do this with you guys. I'm willing to take that time to help you guys out and find those opportunities for you. And I think it's something that you should do. And if you're not doing it, I think you're really making a mistake to at least see if those opportunities are there. Because if you're not doing it, I can tell you what, if your clients or whoever it is are talking with other people or seeing any other marketing out there, they may end up doing that or looking at it or analyzing it with another guy. And I think I'd rather have it be you guys because you guys have that relationship with those people. And I think it's the right thing to do too, as well, is to take and analyze and do that. So that's the opportunity to go find a little treasure out there that can help you with your marketing in the future. Okay.
Thanks, Jerry. And I want to just emphasize what Jerry said there. When I'm meeting with a prospect, do I assume that they're not checking other people out at the same time, or do I assume they are checking out other people? Even if they don't tell me, do I assume they're only working with me, or they're checking out other people as well? So Nick's got it. Yeah, others as well, Ron, exactly. So the same thing goes with my clients. Even though my clients love me, even though I think I lost 2 clients in the last 3 years of business, and they were both because this doesn't count people dying, but if people who a spouse died, I didn't lose any of those folks, which is unusual in this industry. The other people moved out of state and really apologize, but they just want somebody, so I understand that. But with clients too, guess what I assumed? That they were with me forever, or they were going to be having other people check me out and check out what they were doing. Yeah, they're checking. That's Donald. I assumed that they were checking. So really, as Jerry said, if you ain't checking on those policies, guess what? Somebody else is. And then when that other person finds the problems with it, guess what? Can you say, well, I can do that too? Guess what they're going to say? Guess what your client's going to say? Well, then what? Why didn't you do it? Yeah, does that make sense? And Jerry's main point is, why not roll into the marketing? If we get this marketing work, and I want everybody to say yes to this. Everybody be knocking on wood and sending positive thoughts to this marketing to work for the next 2 weeks. Everybody say, yeah, I'm going to do that. We need as much positive energy to go forward with that. So, and if that works, then we need money. Now, this is going to be less expensive, not overly expensive, but still, we'd rather have that money available that we can go ahead and do it. So I only had 10 yeses, so that means the other folks don't get to use the marketing if it works. 15 yeses. Okay, now we're getting everybody. Good. So we need all that positive energy to go and make that work. But if it does work, and when it does work, because we have good feelings about it, but you want to have that money available, and now's the next 2 weeks time to be doing that. Make sense? Cool. Okay. So today we're going to talk about part 2 of Ray Dalio's principles. Remember, we only talked about 1/16 of all the principles in his book, Principles. Today we're going to go to part 2 with Ray Dalio, which is how to get what you want in life or in business. And he has a 5-step process. The 5-step process is set goals, identify and don't tolerate problems, diagnose the problems to the root causes, design a plan for eliminating those problems, and do what is set out in the plan. So let's talk about those step by step. So have clear goals, prioritize. So your goals should be prioritized. We all have lots of goals, and we've all seen this diagram before where we have urgent and important, do it now. Not important to not urgent, delete it, is in the lower right-hand corner. Important but not urgent, put it down in your calendar on when you're going to do it. Doesn't need to be done now. But urgent and not important, that's where, of all these squares, where do most people fall down on? Which is the one that is most people's thorn in their paw? Which one? The green, teal, pink, or gray? Yeah, Nick's got it. Ron's got it. John. Yeah, it's the gray one. Urgent but not important. Because you know what? When we get an email, what do we have to do? When we hear a ping on our phone, we've got an email, what do we immediately have to do? What does our psyche make us want to do? Look, and did you know that they actually made that ping, they made that to make you act like Pavlov's dog. Because it makes you want it. Most people do not have it. Well, let me go back. Does anybody know the marshmallow test? Everybody heard of the marshmallow test where they put two kids there and they said, okay, that's right. So they had two kids there and they did, there was lots of kids and they had marshmallow and they said, you can have this one marshmallow now. They put it right in front of them. Or if you wait for 15 minutes, then you'll get what? Lots of marshmallows. And they found that some kids were able to wait, and some kids want it right now. And then they went and visited them when they became adults. And who were the most successful people? The ones that could not wait and gobble up that marshmallow right then, or the ones that waited and got many marshmallows? Yeah, the ones that waited. The ones that waited. So don't fall into that marshmallow trap of doing the urgent but not important things. How often should you be looking at your email, guys? 3 times a day, or twice a day is good too. What I do is in the morning when I get in there, at noon, before lunch, and then before I go home and see if there's anything urgent. Should you be looking at it any other time of the day? My big downfall, my gray box, is news feed. And guys, if I have time, I have a 10-minute block because I do. I look at the news feed. And does that do me any good? Is there anything in that news feed that's going to make me a more productive person? But it's urgent. I need to know what's going on. No, I don't. It's not important. There's nothing in there that's important. Because if I waited just and looked at it once a day, would I get the exact same news? Yeah, I'd get the exact same news if I looked at it once a day. So guys, find out what your thorn in your paw is, what you are constantly doing all day long that's not doing you any good. What kind of thing could I do with a 10-minute break in between coaching calls or whatever? What could I do rather than look at coaching at the news feed? What are some things I could do to make that 10 minutes more productive, or that 15 minutes when I finish a call early? Yeah, I could do MIFT, absolutely. 15 minutes, that'd be something I could do. What else could I do? Yep, 15-minute drill is an awesome idea. What else could I do? Review next call. Mark, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, what else? Prepare for next call, John. Yeah, yep, that's good. Focus. Nick, that's an awesome one. Focus. Recharge for the next event. How would you recharge? That's something, Pamela, how would you recharge? Because that is something that I would do. How would you recharge? Well, Ron's got an idea. Get up and get some blood flowing. Go for a walk. That's an awesome thing. Stretch, go for a walk. Kevin, yep. Get water, yep. One of the other, and nobody said this yet, one of the other things you can do is meditate, guys. Headspace, Tom's got it. There's lots of apps where you can have a 10-minute meditation with Calm, the app Calm, or Headspace, or whatever it be. Meditation helps you focus your mind. It builds that muscle of being able to focus on something. So that's another thing you could do. I could also read an article that's about something that's going to help me, right? So there's lots of different things that I could do. Have clear goals versus desires. Guys, Jeff talked last week about the golfer who kept telling, I don't know, Jeff, you said, was it Arnold Palmer or Jack Nicklaus, that kept saying, oh, I wish I could drive that good. Oh, I wish I could drive that well. Oh, I wish I could drive that well. Oh, wish I could drive that well. Till the pro golfer, whether it's Jack or Arnold, turned around and said, no, you don't. No, you don't, because you don't want to sit out here for 7 hours a day till you have blisters on your hands learning how to drive. You don't want to sit out here when it's 100 degrees and drive till you're dehydrated. You don't want to do the work that's necessary. So which did the person in the fan in the peanut gallery, what did they have? A goal or a desire? They had a desire. They didn't have a goal. Because a goal has a plan. Should he been, if he really wanted to be a pro golfer, should he be out there watching Arnold, or should he be on his own driving range driving? Have clear goals. I had many of the trappings of success as I was a lawyer. I drove a nice car. I had all the nice things, but things don't make a rich life. So the funny thing is, people who are there people with not much who are very successful and happy? Yes, there are. Are there people with all sorts of things that live lousy, shallow, horrible lives? Yes. So don't mistake having a big car, a fancy house, and all those things for being successful. That is not what makes for a rich life. Have clear goals. Never rule out a goal because you think it's unattainable. Guys, for 40, I've told some of you guys this before, where I, for 40 years, told myself that I couldn't remember people's first names. For 40 years, I told people I couldn't. I just told myself, can't learn first names. And when I finally quit making excuses for myself, because I was yelling at my coaching clients for making excuses, and I was making excuses myself. So I said, you know what? You better walk the walk, talk the talk. So I quit making excuses. And how quickly was I able to attain the goal of learning people's first names? Within 20 minutes of the first time I tried it, I learned 40 people's first names. So for 40 years, I told myself I couldn't do it, and then boom. When I quit telling myself I couldn't do it, all of a sudden I could do it. You know, a lot of people, guys will tell me, I can't learn the script. Oh, it's hard to learn the script. Oh, I can't learn the script. Well, if you tell yourself it's going to be hard and you can't learn the script, magically, guess what? You can't. So we've also talked about every high school, tens of thousands of high schools in this country have drama departments. And in all those drama departments, all those kids learn the scripts. And do they get paid to learn the scripts? No. Do all their other teachers say, oh, you don't need to do math homework, you don't need to do your science homework, you don't need to do your history homework because you're in a play? No, they still have to do all those other things, and yet they're able to learn the scripts. Thousands of kids. And are they the geniuses in schools, guys? No. They're just normal kids. But they have a desire. They have a goal to learn the scripts. Yeah, Jeannie says, your thoughts are your master. I totally agree with that. Have clear goals. Almost nothing can stop you from succeeding if you have flexibility and you have self-accountability. If you have self-accountability, that's the big thing right there. Kevin says, Gary Keller paraphrases, you're only 5 years away from getting anything in life you want. Problems is most people won't stay focused on that, focused for that long or decide what they want. Totally agree with that. Have clear goals. Knowing how to deal well with your setbacks is as important as knowing how to move forward. We talked about this last week. If you're not failing, then you're not what? So you're not failing, you're not trying. That's right, Nick. That's right, Bob. Here's the next main point. Identify and don't tolerate problems. View painful problems as potential improvements that are screaming at you. So if you lose a big case, is that a painful problem? It absolutely is. So Jeff, how should guys react, and what kind of things should people or a successful advisor do, Jeff, when they lose a huge case?
You have to go back and listen to the tape, figure out what happened, and then figure out what you're going to do if it ever comes up again. because I promise you it'll come up again. It keeps coming up until you fix it.
Should I just blame the client for being a tire kicker and plate licker?
You can, but you won't get anywhere. I mean, those are the people that get stuck on and complain about the same things over and over and over and over and over.
So use that. And guys, you've heard me say, when I was making $1 million a year and I lost a $40,000 case because at the end they decided to stay with their guy, what did I do with that person? How many times did I contact that person trying to get them to change their mind? Zero. That's right. Never did. Why? First of all, once they've decided to stay, then it becomes a push me, pull you. Who's going to win the push me, pull you? They are. So what I did then, and because you know what, when you're making $1 million a year, can you get lazy sometimes? Yes. You think you're king of the world. So I'd quit using the techniques. I'd take shortcuts. So about every 6 months, I'd lose a case because of that, because I would take a shortcut. So I would go back and I would say, you know what, that was a $40,000 lesson. And then I would go back to that tape and listen to it minutely and fix every freaking thing in that tape, and then find the thing that caused me to lose it and make sure that did not happen again. You know, and then 6 months later, I would drift away. And that's the importance of listening to tapes continually, because otherwise you drift away and you start taking shortcuts. Identify and don't tolerate problems. The heaviest weight you will ever lift is the problem you refuse to confront. I love this. So, what would you say a person who doesn't record their meetings because they forgot their recorder, or their batteries were worn out, even though batteries never wear out on digital recorders, or what are they doing? Yeah, Ron. Ron says get comfortable being uncomfortable. See, the heaviest weight you ever lift is the problem you refuse to confront. It's not that people's batteries are wearing out. You know, and people say, I forgot to bring the recorder. Did they forget to bring their car? Did they forget to bring their computer? No. So if they didn't forget to bring the computer, what do we know? They didn't forget to bring the recorder. They just didn't make it a priority. Why didn't they make it a priority? Because they really don't want to listen to how bad they do. And guys, when I started to listen to how bad I did, and I still listen to myself. Guys, when I do 15-minute drills and listen to my tapes, what's my record? After doing this for 20 years, what's my record of listening to a tape with me talking to somebody else before I make a mistake? How long can I go now before I make a mistake? Yeah, about 3.5 minutes. You got it. So even after 20 years of doing this and being a lot better than any of you guys, guess what? After 20 years, I better be better than you guys. I still can't go more than 3 minutes before I make a mistake. Now, it's not a huge mistake, but it's the time. But still, it's a mistake. Can always get better. You got to confront your problems. Identify, don't tolerate problems. Be specific in identifying your problems. There's nothing drives me more crazy when somebody tells me, "Oh, I screwed up. Oh, I'm so horrible. Oh, I can never get this." Is that specific, guys? Is that really helping? Are those things helping you at all? No, you're not horrible. You're not screwing things up. You're not stupid. No, it's that you need that you had a problem, and your first job is to go find that problem. All the problems in one day, or one of the problems in one day. If anybody, there's a lot that's been written on Groundhog Day, a ton that's been written on Groundhog Day. Has anybody read any of those threads or Reddits on Groundhog Day with all the what would you call it, bleacher psychologists that have gone through that? How many times do most people think that Bill Murray went through Groundhog Day to finally nail that day? How many days do they think that he went through before he finally nailed that one day at the end of the movie? Thousands. That's right, Michael. Thousands. And he fixed that what? He fixed all those problems, just one little problem at a time. Identify and don't tolerate problems. Don't mistake a cause of a problem with a real problem. This isn't what, again, the cause of a problem, is it because I'm old and I can't learn new tricks? Can't teach an old dog new tricks. Is that the cause of the problem? What's the real problem, guys? For somebody who says, "Oh, I can't do open-ended questions," or "I can't learn a script." Yeah, the real problem is they're not trying or their mindset. That's the real problem. Now, identify, don't tolerate problems. Figure out what's the big problem, medium problem, small problem. When I first listened to my first tape with a client, I found my biggest problem was I couldn't shut up. In an hour and a half meeting, I overtalked people 10 times. So is that a big, medium, or small problem? If I overtalk people 10 times, it's a big problem. So attack that first. Attack that first. Here's a good one. So Jeff, when it comes to marketing versus being able to close cases, what's the big problem and what's the small problem?
Well, the big problem is not being able to close cases. I mean, we can all think of ways to get in front of people. I don't think anybody on the call has a problem getting in front of people. I think what you would say is, well, I can't get in front of the right people. Well, then you're going to have to get better at closing. Because if you're going to fix that you're going to have to get better at how you meet with people. People aren't going to get easier to meet with, or easy people aren't going to get easier to find. You're going to have to get better at closing them.
And if somebody says, hey, marketing is getting tougher, I'll agree with that. I'm not going to argue with that, which makes it still, if marketing is getting tougher, does that make it a bigger problem, make closing a bigger problem or a smaller problem if marketing is getting tougher?
Makes it a bigger problem. You're going to have to get better at closing.
Yeah. So closing, your skills at closing tire kickers and plate lickers is always going to be much bigger than your marketing problem. If your marketing problem is bigger, that's going to make closing even a bigger problem because you're going to be getting in front of smaller people. So, and here's the funny thing. What is the one thing we can control? Can we be at a prospect's computer or a prospect's door when they look at Facebook or they go to their mailbox? Can we be there? No. So is that a problem that we can really have total control over? No. But there is one thing we have total control over. Do we have total control over our skills when we're one-on-one with a client? Yes, that's the one thing that we do. Identify and don't tolerate problems until later. Now is the time. Guys, when should you be working on these things? Now. Second, or another big point, get to the root or cause of the problem. What is causing the problem? Is it my lack of motivation? Is it lack of focus? Or is it I don't have the skills to do this? You got to figure out what is really causing the problem. Then you design a plan, but sometimes it's necessary to go back before you can go forward, really forward. Again, I'm not a disciplined person. So how do I handle the fact that I'm a lazy person and not a disciplined person? How do I handle that? How do I overcome that? I have a plan. What's my plan? Blocks my time. That's right. Block in my calendar. So if I don't have an appointment from 1 to 2, guess what? I put something in my calendar to make sure I do have something to do between 1 and 2, and it's a constructive thing, not a dilly-dally thing. So design that plan to make yourself more productive. Think about your problem as a set of outcomes produced by a machine. So when should you get your car, change the oil in your car? When it starts making noises? When the temperature gauge starts to go up pretty high? Is that when you get the oil change in your car? When do you get the oil change in your car? In a very specific time, regularly. So if you want to get better at skills, guess what? If you want to oil your machine, do your 15-minute drill. If you want to oil your machine, spend a block, an hour or two every single week to get better at a script. Oh, and that brings up, I forgot to talk to you about the marketing is going to be the marketing that Missy and Tricia, Jeff and I and Jerry, we're all working on. The marketing we're working on is going to be based around the FIA bond script. The FIA bond script. So that's a script you should be working on right now. Even this, and guys, we'll have to erase this tape afterwards because you'll never hear me say this again. The FIA bond script right now is even more important than the 21-point checklist script. So if you're working on the 21-point checklist script, I'd say learn the FIA bond script even better than the the 21-point checklist script right now. You'll never hear me say that again. So, but right now, the FIA bond script is more important than the 21-point checklist script. So if you're blocking time to learn something, that's what you should be able to be learning. Design a plan, visualize and manifest anything. I used to think this was stupid to do. I mean, it's like a new age artsy-fartsy thing that, you know, have a vision board and visualize things. But science has proven that what? How many successful people visualize that success they were going to have when they were teenagers or when they were 20? Singers, athletes, etc. Business people, most of them did. So you know what? That 10-minute block of time when you have nothing to do, what would be a good thing to use that 10 minutes for? Visualize where you want to be a year from now. Design a plan. Write down your plan for everyone to see. Whoever can hold you accountable in life, your wife, your brother, your assistant, find somebody that you can design a plan with actionable items that you can actually do every day and be accountable to somebody. Identify and don't tolerate problems. But here's the thing. Should I spend weeks and weeks and weeks coming up with a plan? How long does a plan take? A day. If your planning is taking on more than a day, then what are you doing? You're doing analysis by paralysis. Push through to completion. Plan without action is not a plan, it's a speech. So if you have a plan, you have to have actionable things, and then you have to do those actionable things. The first thing I do every day is going to do a 15-minute drill. Every week, I spend 2 weeks working on a script. In down times, I'm going to either visualize, or I'm going to meditate, or I'm going to read something that's going to be a skill making myself better. So have things to do. Push through. Good work habits are vastly underrated. This is the big thing right here. Of all the things in today's call, this is the most important thing. Good work habits are vastly underrated. Successful, oh shoot, who was that guy at Boston Celtics? Somebody help me. Boston Celtics, big white guy in the 70s or 80s. What's his name? Somebody? The Bird, Larry Bird. Thank you, Mark. Larry Bird. Did he have skills, guys? Was he unbelievably skillful? No, he wasn't, but he worked freaking hard. Well, actually, even if you look at Michael Jordan, what's Michael Jordan's story? Was he any good in junior high and high school? No, he freaking worked. How about Tom Brady? Is Tom Brady the most, and I'm not a big Tom Brady fan, but let's face it, guys, he's had unbelievable success. So is he the most athletic quarterback in the league? Or is he middle of the road at best? But he works. Good work habits are vastly underrated. So when somebody says, I ask them how they're doing the 15-minute drill, and they say, oh, I didn't do too well last week, what's that say about their work habits? When somebody says, when I ask, hey, did you tape a meeting? They say, I didn't make the tape. I forgot to bring the recorder or the batteries in. What's that saying about their work habits? Good work habits are vastly underrated. Good work habits is what's going to make you successful. Accept responsibility for your actions. Be accountable for your results. Take ownership of your mistakes. When you do these things, can you be in control of accepting responsibility for your actions? Yes. Can you be accountable for your results? Yes. Can you take ownership of mistakes? Yes. See, these are things I can control. But can I control whether the market's going up or down? Interest rates are going up or down. Can I control about marketing where it only gets me in front of tire kickers and plate lickers? Those things I can't control. These things I can control. But if you are in control of these things, guess what's going to magically happen? Every single day you're going to get better. And if you're getting better every single day, what happens next week? What happens next month? What happens next year? So weakness doesn't matter if you have a process. Set your goals. Identify and don't tolerate problems. You got to really zero on these things. Diagnose the problem, the root cause, design a plan to get there, and do that plan. Weakness doesn't matter if you find solutions. Everyone has one big thing that stands in the way of success. Find yours and deal with it. Make sense? Coolio, you guys have a fantastic rest of the week, and we'll talk to you all on next Monday. Thanks, everybody.